Today, I want to talk about my amazing digital circus theory that Pomni might abstract, and even crazier, that this might actually be the reason she entered the digital circus in an attempt to save the others. Click subscribe so you don't miss more wild theories like this one. Now, the amazing digital circus is about 6 human minds that are trapped inside of a virtual reality game without any of their memories. This game is thus all they really know outside of the vague memory that they are supposed to exist in a more human world outside of it. Being trapped in this amazing digital circus is obviously something of a glitch, malfunction, or deliberate issue caused by the AI who controls the game, known as Kane. While this is a video game and thus there is no real pain within it, the digital form that your body has in the game can abstract, which, as the name suggests, is when your programming corrupts and becomes abstract, not a clearly defined form like these various avatars. The avatars all seem very customizable, and in fact may actually be designed more so based off of your brain than off of the features that you select. While I imagine that there are base themes that you can choose from when joining the amazing digital circus game, the technology for the game suggests that the final physical form you take has to be tied to your brain structure in some way. In the pilot, the AI Kane has a special wacky watch that appears with a special web link on your screen that, if typed into your browser, led to a special vintage commercial advertising the digital circus as a game and the technology used in the show to play the game. Now, the idea behind the amazing digital circus as a show was to take the older children's video games like Kid Pix and combine it with more modern systems like VR chat, more futuristic and speculative ideas about where artificial intelligence and virtual reality are going for entertainment. With that in mind, the amazing digital circus appears to be a late 90s or early 2000s video game with futuristic technology that has inevitably malfunctioned in some way. In the commercial, we are told that the game provides lifelike visuals and experiences with the help of a special chip. This chip, I believe, scans the brain of the person wearing it and creates a digital proxy of them. With each person having a slightly different brain, this allows the game to create an avatar that can best translate the experience back to the actual wearer. This is an experience so realistic that Pomni within the game reaches up for her VR goggles, but of course finds nothing there in the game. Along the way, I think the game is also programmed to take your brain scan and mold the avatar into a children's toy style to play in the 3D space, probably based off of a few pre-selected features that you also enjoyed aesthetically. Now, because of that, each character or avatar is a complex series of codes designed to translate a human experience into a digital simulation while also giving them an in-world appearance that matches the overall theme. To abstract, then, is to simply have one part of that programming become compromised. An abstracted player is still all of the code and programming it had before, just without the correct arrangement at the very least that kept it flowing through its avatar form. Within an abstracted player should still be that character's memories and such, and Kane perhaps could find a way to put them back together, but even as the AI that programs the game itself, he seems unable to do so, with that being outside of his reprogramming abilities. Instead, when a character abstracts, he sends them down to a dark abyss, where they simply exist indefinitely with other abstracted monsters. Death in the series, then, isn't just disappearing, but becoming a horrible monster that lives with other monsters, essentially going to hell. This is the fate that happens to the characters after they seem to reach some stressed out point of no return. So far, this seems to be when a character like Kaufmo becomes too stressed from trying to find an exit. The game is meant to be enjoyed by humans, but humans generally turn the game off to rest, especially at night. In the game, the characters don't need rest, and thus they can run these digital versions of themselves in ways that weren't initially intended by the software or hardware. The stress of this, the stress of trying to break out of the game itself, is what causes the characters to break out of their avatar shell. Now, abstraction seems like a limitation of the hardware and software, which was designed with the ideas that humans would take breaks from the game, but we don't have much reason to think that these characters are actually human. These characters seem to be the scans of people's brains, but the actual humans they were modeled after no longer seem to be controlling the bodies. Some people think that these are actual humans who somehow got stuck in the game, but I stick to my theory that the avatars are digital scans of people's brains turned into video game avatars, making it so that only a specific human can plug into that character with a matching brain scan. Without someone to pilot the character, however, I think that the avatars have managed to start operating themselves, remembering themselves as a scan of a human who is suddenly dropped into this video game without any context. If this is all happening because of some glitch in the game, I think that Pomni might have been sent into the game in order to try and fix the glitch, and help the poor avatars who have unfortunately been suffering in Kane's digital circus. But why do I think that? The reason I think that Pomni has been sent to save the others, and particularly has to be abstracted for that to happen, is because Pomni has been heavily painted as a Jesus figure in the show. The most obvious example of this was the final scene of the pilot, where Pomni is sitting at a dinner table after having just seen the edge of the void, and that they are trapped within a computer game. This shot resembles the famous painting of Jesus' Last Supper, where he informs his disciples that he will be killed. Pomni's colors even seem designed to match the sharp red and blue that Jesus is wearing in that painting. Jesus is famously known for dying for the sins of all of humanity, and in doing so, descending 3 days into the lower world to rescue the souls that are trapped there too. Jesus' journey to hell mirroring his journey in life. Pomni thus doesn't seem to be someone who is just coming to save the other Digital Circus members that we know, but the many abstracted members who exist in the abyss below the Digital Circus. However, the story of the Amazing Digital Circus isn't one that resembles the story of the New Testament for the most part, and instead, the themes ring more true with Gnostic stories. Gnosticism was a movement in the early centuries of Christianity that focused on gaining enlightenment or sacred knowledge to attain gnosis, with this knowledge being passed down in metaphorical stories expanding on the nature of biblical characters like Jesus. In these stories, the world is revealed to be a prison that is controlled by the Demiurge, the creator god of the physical world, who does not realize that there are greater worlds bigger than him, full of beings who are more complex than him. He creates humans out of the physical matter, trapping the light of higher divine beings in order to animate them, creating beings that he can interact with and even worship him, not realizing that they are beings above him. The light of divine beings don't want to be trapped in this shell, however, and thus the Demiurge is seen as an ignorant deity who has managed to enslave higher divine beings in human bodies. This is played by Kane in the show, the AI who built the Digital Circus. He was programmed to do this by humans, who are the greater gods above him that end up trapped in this game, with him not recognizing just how complex their needs are. Instead, he acts as a fun game host and even seems to torture them a bit for amusement based on the promos for the show. This is not out of malice, but he thinks this is what he's supposed to do, that he's supposed to put out this great show for people watching on the screen, and a fun experience for the people wearing the VR headsets. The characters then are the shattered aspects of divinity, with the Jesus figure being the son of the highest of all gods in the spiritual realms, being sent down to the physical world to rescue the humans who are stuck there under the Demiurge's rule. Pomni as that figure may have been purposely intended to do this by someone in the human world. If the patterns were to follow the Gnostic text, then the real human Pomni could be the daughter of the original creators of the Digital Circus game, and she may be trying to fix the old corrupt game that her father made before she was ever born. The real Pomni may have seen that there is a way within the game to set everyone free, but to do that she'd have to create a copy of herself that she felt could pull this off without having any of the real memories of how to do it, though she may have been able to program something into her own subconscious that she knew would ultimately lead the digital Pomni in the game to finding the same answer. Now, an interesting part of the Gnostic texts, such as the Gospel of Judas, is that they depict Jesus as someone who needs to be sacrificed in order to achieve his higher spiritual state necessary to complete this mission. This seems to be a sort of tie-in to the book of Revelations, where Jesus is believed to be represented by the slaughtered lamb who is able to set the events of the apocalypse in motion after his death. In the Gnostic Gospel of Judas, it's revealed that Judas has to kill Jesus in order to unleash the soul from the body that Jesus has been trapped in. This allows Jesus to go into hell to save the souls that are trapped there, these being the abstracted within the show. Now, there's a lot of ways that this could pan out, but with the apocalyptic ideas in mind, I think Pomni may be an abstracted monster so powerful she can basically destroy the game and crash it entirely. This would technically free the characters from their prison, perhaps, with an abstracted Pomni being powerful enough to destroy everyone and everything so that there is no conscious version of them left, not even one trapped in an abstracted monster form in the abyss. But most mythic texts speak of a golden age following these great destructions of the apocalypse, with them being seen as sort of a necessary final judgment of the good and the evil before we can be at harmony with God again. With that in mind, I think it is possible that if there is some big destruction of the Digital Circus, that there could be some point after where the game essentially just reboots. If the characters are just copies of humans, they can't really return to their real bodies, but they don't need to stay in the digital circus as it is either. They could choose to turn off their files maybe, giving them a chance to rest, but in a new world where they can start to design it for themselves, there could be a happy ending where our characters all form sort of a makeshift family in a virtual paradise where they are the gods themselves, with Kane just being another one of their friends instead of their ultimate caregiver. All of that being said, the themes explored in these shows are often used to set up a premise that ends up going in a wildly different direction from the ancient texts. While a lot of the information here can still play out in the episodes to come, I wouldn't be surprised if the whole point of the show is to subvert the ideas of the Gnostic and general religious texts in the end, creating a more human ending based on what the characters are really experiencing in the game. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.